Here's the indictment from Mueller and Rosenstein. What he had shown is that they had lifted the language of this hack for their indictment from my earlier lawsuit in November of 2017, including this section B here where I get very specific about how ActBlues was used, the day the domain was registered, how they used spear phishing attacks for the ActBlue account, which then was changed by one letter to ActBlues for both the domain website addresses and emails and so forth. Well, first of all, they go to a server in Arizona, and then they go to a server in Malaysia. And I don't know if people remember me saying that I believe that the DNC and SEIU, really in Chicago, creates these false identities, and they bring people through Fort Huachuca. It's the 111th Military Brigade in Fort Huachuca, and it's where you create false identities and so forth. So, Vladimir, if you have a program like MAVNI that we've talked about, which is military assets vitally needed in case of insurrection, you could bring a whole army through Fort Huachuca, Mexican border. At that point, you need to get this new person a license. So that's fairly simple to do in the United States. And then we also need to get him some money. Again, we don't want to open a bank account and transfer money into the bank account. We'd like to give him cash. So what I believe is happening here is these identities are being created in Fort Huachuca. And the reason why I want him to be a doctor is I want him to start prescribing medicine for me as soon as possible at these small pain clinics. And the pain clinics are going to be my way of now self-generating. I'm going to start writing prescriptions to people on the street. I'm going to have the pushers hang out near pain clinics where people can't get a prescription, etc., or have been already shut down. That's what I actually think was happening. And in Malaysia, as I had said, was about $6 billion of Hillary's war chest fund, and that money is going, small transfers are made in sort of Federal Bridge type transfers for these new identities. That's what I actually believe is going on.